Alright, guys, we are gonna be reacting to how the Maiden the Scharnhorst was sunk. Need some of the support, guys. We're gonna simply jump in here and see how this thing was sunk. Let's jump in. Make sure you guys
Christmas
subscribe.
1943, and the mighty German battleship Scharnhorst, one of the fastest ships of the Kriegsmarine, carves through the rough Arctic seas. At its bridge stands the fleet commander, Konteradmiral Erich Bay. He's charging towards a soft target of British merchant ships on their way to the Soviet Union. But the bridge is suddenly illuminated as star shells fill the air. Bay searches the horizon through the driving snow, only to see the ominous sign of muzzle flashes from British guns. Bay is here to fight, but not heavily armed battleships, so he orders the ship to turn 150 degrees and flee, but at the same time to try and hit the British ships. As Scharnhorst turns away, its massive aft turret, Caesar, turns to face the British and fires a salvo. They have to escape the Royal Navy guns, but the British guns are accurate and deadly. A shell smashes straight into the German radar.
Wir haben das Radar verloren.
Weiter feuern. Volle Kraft auf die Maschinen und stellt eine Nebelwand her.
As the smokescreen from the Scharnhorst starts to emerge, another enemy shell slams into the ship with a powerful bang.
Schadensmeldung.
Oberflächlich.
Volle Kraft. Sie erwischen uns nicht.
Scharnhorst is speeding away. Without radar, the Germans are sailing blind, and Bay reluctantly orders to return to port, confident he can outrun the British chase.
Zurück in den Hafen.
Bay has no idea the cruisers are not acting alone. As the British ships follow Scharnhorst, they send out a transmission. To the south, hidden in the dark, waits a second part of the British trap, the main force led by the mighty HMS Duke of York. And in command is Admiral Sir Bruce Fraser, Commander-in-Chief of the Home Fleet, who's come personally to see the Scharnhorst destroyed. Fraser smiles to himself as he receives the transmission that tells him that the Scharnhorst is headed right towards their position. The trap is about to be sprung, and the enemy they've been looking for appears on radar.
Surface vessel, bearing 295, range 35...
Admiral Fraser orders HMS Duke of York to close in slowly. They stalk their prey, inching closer.
30,000. Patience.
It's clear Scharnhorst has no idea that they're here. They plow through the rough Arctic seas, undetected, into engagement distance.
20,000. Patience.
Fraser orders his men to hold steady.
11,000. Take aim.
The Duke of York's gigantic turrets stir to life, armed with 10 immensely powerful 14-inch main guns.
Order Jamaica to fire star shells.
Konteradmiral Bay and his men think the battle's done. They're steaming south on their way to the port, when suddenly, yet another star shell illuminates the sky directly in front of them. Everyone's attention turns to its source.
Fire!
The Duke of York opens fire with a full broadside. The men aboard Scharnhorst see the world around them erupt with the sounds of splashes and metal. A single 14-inch shell punches directly through Anton, the foremost turret, killing everyone inside. To prevent the magazines from exploding, the second forward turret, Bruno, is also flooded. Bay realizes that they're trapped. He can't turn back because of the chasing cruisers. So, his only option now is to escape to the east. Scharnhorst turns hard to port as they return fire with all they have, which for now is just one turret. The enemy fire comes crashing down all around them. Another 14-inch shell smashes into Scharnhorst's superstructure, triggering a massive fire. The Germans realize that Bruno isn't aflame, and they flooded it for no good reason. So the order is given to drain the magazine, and Bruno comes to life. Scharnhorst takes fire from the flank and behind as Bruno is rocked by a 14-inch shell. The turret is full of smoke and the crew have to evacuate. Scharnhorst proceeds at absolute maximum power as Caesar, their last turret, fires at the British ship. Back on the Duke of York, Fraser is getting nervous. Scharnhorst is steadily sailing away from the action. The Duke of York's guns are adjusting their aim. But an incoming salvo from the Scharnhorst strikes the ship, bringing the catastrophic news.
Sir, we've lost the radar.
Without that radar, there's no way they can adjust their aim.
Make repairs, and fast.
Lieutenant Harold Bates from the radar shack is already on it. He can see that the radar is drooping downwards. Without waiting for orders or informing anyone, he climbs onto the mast. It's in the middle of a snowstorm. It's an incredibly brave act. The wind and snow bite at his face, and he's repeatedly buffeted by the blast from the main guns. But Bates pushes through, willing himself upwards step by step.
Wow.
They continue to fire into the night, yet with the German ship racing away, the chances of landing a hit shrink by the second. To Bay's delight, Scharnhorst is on the verge of slipping out of the trap. The British ships now sail full east, trying desperately to keep up. At the same time, the German technicians successfully bring the Bruno turret back online. It's immediately put to use, sending shells towards the enemy. On the Duke of York, Harold Bates clings onto the mast, like his life depends on it. The wind howls around him, tearing his hat away.
Bravery.
But he finds his footing and keeps going. With massive effort, he manages to push the radar antenna back into alignment. Suddenly, the radar screen comes back to life.
Contact, range 22,000 yards.
Radar reports Scharnhorst at 22,000 yards.
That's over 10 nautical miles. It's within the range, but it's still a difficult shot in these conditions.
Correct and fire, quickly.
The guns adjust up and fire. 14-inch shells fly up into the sky. They travel for 30 eternal seconds. Then they come down. A shell hits the Scharnhorst and passes through the thin upper-bow armor and finally explodes in boiler room number 1. Bay's horrified. He knows it's over.
Schadensmeldung.
Starker Dampfverlust. Wir sind auf 8 Knoten gefallen.
It's not enough. Already aware of his fate, Bay orders to make a transmission that reads,
Wir kämpfen bis zur letzten Patrone. Es lebe Deutschland.
The German engineers get to work and the ship recovers to 22 knots. But it's not enough. Her reduced speed makes her vulnerable to torpedo attacks. The British ships join the main force from the north. Scharnhorst is now surrounded.
Konzentration auf die Zerstörer. Lasst sie nicht näher kommen.
The German 15-centimeter secondary turrets target one of 4 destroyers approaching. There's far too many of them. 2 make the charge and release 8 torpedoes towards Scharnhorst. A British torpedo finds its mark and rocks the German battleship. Then the 2 other destroyers make their run, releasing 12 torpedoes towards the Scharnhorst. 1 impacts on port and 3 more on starboard, all in quick succession. The ship shudders and groans. It begins taking in water and slows down to 10 knots.
Torpedos abfeuern.
Bay orders Scharnhorst to turn around and attempt a torpedo run of its own, but the ship is too wounded. Only 1 torpedo is launched, and it misses. Scharnhorst is surrounded by the British ships and is pummeled in submission. Its secondary turrets continue firing. Even with the ship burning and entirely boxed in, the men continue firing to the last.
Yes.
The Caesar turret fires again and manages to hit a destroyer. The British destroyers push forward again and perform another torpedo attack at point-blank range. 5 explode against Scharnhorst's hull. The Caesar turret, which was the first to fire in the battle, is damaged and finally falls silent. Huge amounts of water have poured into the many holes, and the ship begins to list. Still standing on the bridge, with his ship leaning heavily to starboard beneath him, Bay knows it's really over, and finally, orders to abandon ship. Admiral Fraser watches the Grand Kriegsmarine ship in its death throes as it rolls over. The bow of the ship sinks, raising the stern into the air. The propellers still turning slowly. Fraser would later tell his men,
Gentlemen, the battle against the Scharnhorst has ended in victory for us. I hope that any of you who are ever called upon to lead a ship into action against an opponent many times superior will command your ship as gallantly as the Scharnhorst was commanded today.
of Scharnhorst's 1,968-man crew, only 36 were pulled alive from the water. Contra-Admiral Eric Bay was not among them.
Wow. Probably went with the
To
ship.
watch another epic naval engagement, click this link and see when a destroyer rammed a U-boat and left the crew in the water.
Bro, that was crazy, man. That was crazy. That was crazy. Jesus Christ. And then war. I got probably they rescued them. I don't know. I don't know if they rescued them, but damn, bro. At the end, that ship was getting blasted 360 degrees. I mean, somehow they kept fighting. Damn, bro. I don't know. He was getting blasted. Blasted for real. Like, all corners. And you know what's funny? Just to watch the Germans just keep moving forward is courageous at the same time, but like knowing your fate kind of a thing. Crazy. Damn, what a battle. Let me know what you guys think. The next one.